The information presented on this podcast represents the personal views and opinions of the hosts. The Neapolitan Trifecta podcast is not and should not be viewed as a news source. The ladies will often discuss current events regarding women in the entertainment industry. Links to sources of information will be posted for reference.
Hey everybody, welcome to a super duper action-packed episode of the Neapolitan Trifecta podcast. I am Lana Reed. I am the owner of Garnet Films and a director.
And I am Nancy Pushkar. I'm the owner of Crazy Cat Lady Productions and an actress. And I'm writing a couple shorts, and we'll see what happens with that. And tossing it over to Alex.
I am Alexandra Schumard, an actress based out of the Dayton, Cincinnati area. And these are my peeps.
Go peeps.
I have a little peep in my bathroom. Anyway, so today we have an amazing, amazing show for everyone. We have a phenomenal person. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. Not only because she makes me laugh, but she's just fantastic. Her name is Amy Biersack, and she is the mom of a very well-known singer slash musician and actually actor.
Yeah, very
and
cool.
That would be Andy Biersack, or AKA currently Andy Black, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so Amy has agreed to come on the show and talk to us and everyone about what it is like being a mom having a child in the entertainment industry. Yeah. And Andy is in the film or in the music industry and now currently getting involved in the film industry. But he's had quite a journey to get here, and consequently Amy has been involved with that journey as well, helping him through everything. Right. So if you can kind of give us a background. I know things were rough when he was a little kid.
Sure, yeah. Andy was always different. And people sometimes will say, oh, can you believe that he is where he is? Is that amazing to you? And the weird answer is no, because from the time he was 5 years old, he was planning this and seriously planning it. And I think that is, to me, that's sort of the key difference between people who actually believe in themselves and sort of go down this path and really run with it, and the people who just sort of talk about doing these sort of things.
Kudos to that comment right there.
There
Go
it
ahead.
is.
Keep going. We just talk about that all the
Do
time.
the work.
Do
Yeah.
the work.
Yeah, right. So,
and he did it at 5. He was doing it at 5.
That's
yeah,
amazing.
That's
amazing.
invading your personal space.
Yeah.
in kindergarten, he would have told you in kindergarten that he was going to be a rock star. And in fact, he did tell his pediatrician that.
Oh my gosh, I
and
love it.
his pediatrician sort of laughed and said, well, you better have another plan, Andy, because that's probably not going to happen. And then in the ride home in the car, all we talked about was how insulting that was to the 6-year-old.
Right on,
that he was
Amy.
saying, he doesn't understand, Mom. He doesn't know that I mean that I'm really going to do it. So I think that in that way, it's not a shocking thing for me that we are where we are. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of hard work. There's an element of luck. There's meeting the right people, those sorts of things. But when those meetings occur and when the luck comes your way, you have to be ready.
Exactly.
And so that's the work that he's been doing, I think, since he was old enough to be able to do it.
Right. I mean, and that's one of the most important things for you to tell everyone, because it just reinforces the things that we have been talking about on prior episodes on the podcast.
Yeah.
A couple things that I do want to bring up and have you kind of address those is, first of all, he used to dress up like favorite band icons,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. He was very interested in Kiss. He found out about Kiss when he was probably 3 or 4 years old.
Well, after the band had met their
Yes,
prime,
and
right?
that was because my husband had been a fan. Growing up in the 70s or whatever, he was all about that. He loved that. And he had, how you'll have a box of old junk that you carry around from your parents' house? Well, in my husband's box of old junk was Kiss trading cards that he had bought when he was probably in 6th grade or something.
Yeah.
And Andy found those and was mesmerized by those. Like, he thought, like, superheroes. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
So awesome.
sure.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's how he kind of got interested in the theatrical aspect of Kiss. But I'll tell you an interesting thing about that. It wasn't just the look of it that interested him, because as he moved towards 7, 8, 9, he would look for, in those days, VHS tapes of interviews of Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, who had an incredible ability to handle press and build their brand and their business.
Yeah.
And so Andy sort of studied at their knee as a little kid in Cincinnati watching these videos and thinking that's what I'll do.
Okay,
That's
so
how I'm going to handle
Yeah.
that.
How brilliant is Andy? Super. I mean, for a kid to know all of this
Right.
stuff
All
and
under
have
10
that
years
and
old,
just
yeah.
and just take it and run with it. And for you and your husband to really be supportive of
Yeah.
that is fantastic. Because he struggled with people at school
Right.
that did not understand who he
Right.
where he saw
Right.
himself and who he was.
Yeah.
And that sort of started, he actually went to parochial school when he was little, and didn't fit in. There's a shock. Didn't fit in. And I was actually called to the school when he was in the 5th grade, and they said, we just don't think that he is Catholic school material, whatever,
Oh my gosh.
whatever that is.
No comment, but
Yeah,
So-
seriously. That's
So
oh my god.
That's
we were like, okay, whatever.
What is Catholic
I
school
love it
material?
though. I
What
love
is
it.
Would they
Catholic
give you a
school material?
spreadsheet of like what he needed to
Catholic
be like?
school
You know what I
material.
mean? That's so crazy.
I don't know. But
He was just too awesome for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will choose to believe that's what it was.
Yes.
So he ended up going to public school, and he struggled quite a bit. He was not really able to find any sort of outlet for the creative expression that he wanted to be able to relay to people. It just wasn't available to him. It was a very cliquey school. He was not particularly well liked. He was kind of the weird kid, and the
It just breaks my heart.
few opportunities that he had to do anything, like there was a choir or something, and he got into that, and the teachers, the people who ran it, would specifically say to him, now remember, and I know this is true because I heard it. They didn't know I was standing outside the door. Let's remember, Andy Biersack, this is not the Andy show. So that was
It is now.
He's like in his head,
that's in his liner
you.
notes. That's in his liner
Yeah,
notes of his
I
CD.
love that.
That this is the Andy show.
Oh my gosh,
got
I
goosebumps.
love that.
Great.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
love that. I absolutely love that. Good for him.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was because, again, he was different. When it meant everything to him, like, oh my God, we're going to have a choir performance, and
Yeah.
he'd be preparing for weeks and thinking what he could do to make it better. And he can't help it if no one else is.
Hey,
That's
he's doing
the way.
his thing.
That's
Yeah.
the way
Sounds right,
his
yeah.
mind in 6th grade would work. Like, I'm saving this thing.
Yeah.
Like it's falling apart here, but I'm going to save it.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily go over well with the rest of the group or the rest of the group's parents. It's just a fact.
How
Who
did
knows?
you?
Yeah.
How did you feel when you overheard that?
It felt a little bit like kind of a knife in the stomach.
Yeah.
Because I knew how much it meant to him.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the first time that had happened. When he was in the parochial school, he was never even allowed to be in the choir or anything. And I can exactly tell you
That's-
why. I can tell you why. It was considered a reward for being a good music student, and he didn't have the patience to learn how to play the recorder. The little...
Yeah,
Oh my
little-
god.
you
The
kidding
ear
me?
piercing recorder.
That is why he was never allowed to be in anything. He
Wow.
wasn't allowed to be in any plays. He wasn't allowed to be
Yeah.
in anything in parochial school. So
Yeah.
it wasn't
That
the
is
first
disheartening.
time.
Yes.
Well, that's real life.
Yeah.
That's how it
And
goes.
that wasn't
Probably
that long
felt-
ago.
Yeah.
No.
We're not talking about like the 50s and
No.
that 50s mentality. This was in the last 20 some years.
Yeah. And so Andy wore weird clothes.
Good for him.
He wore soccer socks that had stripes all the way up them because he thought they were cool, and he would wear those with like rolled up shorts. This was like a Dropkick Murphys kind of a time in his life.
That sounds about right with me
And
too.
I actually would get phone calls saying Andy's socks are bothering the other kids,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
can't concentrate on their work.
Why are they going over and tapping them on the shoulders?
Well,
Holy oh.
It's just dumb. It's just
Yeah.
dumb, weird things, but
Yeah.
it's the way it was. And so because of that, because of that, he decided to try to go to the performing arts school. So he got accepted into SCPA, and he went there for 7th and 8th grade, which was a huge turning point in his life. He was cast as the lead in a play in Harvey. He was the lead in Harvey.
Are you kidding? That is awesome.
And he'd never been in anything. He had never been in a play or anything, so he was very excited. And he sort of realized from that experience, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. I want to be on stage. And it was very positive.
Was there anyone, like, was there a particular teacher or anyone else who looked at him and said, "This is a beautiful, amazing kid"?
Yes.
And why are people letting him fall by the wayside and
There
not
was a
supporting?
teacher named David Roth who's still at SCPA.
Shout out to David.
Yeah.
Roth.
Yeah.
Who took Andy under his wing, and he was the one who cast him. And he said, he said to me on the phone, "I don't care that he's never been in anything. If you've got it, you've got it." And he's got it. That's exactly what he said.
He's
to me.
been kind of
We need to get him on the
There it
show.
is.
We need to get him
that
on
guy.
the
We need to talk
To
to
me,
him.
he's been kind of preparing for that moment. You know,
Yeah.
he hadn't been in anything in his mind.
He knew.
He believed in himself, and he was
Yeah.
5 years old. 4
In
years
his
old,
mind,
he was,
he'd been in a
Yeah,
number of
he'd been in every-
productions.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Absolutely.
He
Yeah.
had already
He
won like
probably had
Grammys,
been.
Yeah.
Tonys, Academy
Yeah.
Award. I mean, he's
Yeah.
won every award already.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's,
So
physically.
yeah, so that was a huge turning point for him. And then I think at that point was when he really had that confidence that he was going to do this. And so he said and it sounds funny for a kid who's 13 or 14 years old, but he truly did create his brand or his image.
Oh, yeah.
And he used social media to do that.
Great for him.
And he practiced constantly every day in his room, and my husband and I would videotape him like singing along with records, that kind of thing. And then he would actually want us to critique him, like watch the
Wow.
video
Yeah.
back and say, what could I be doing better, and
wow.
that sort of thing. And this went on
I'm just
for
covered in
Most
goosebumps.
adults in
Years
the
now.
industry that I know
Can't
can't
handle
handle
that.
critique.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Well, so he
Yeah.
started himself kind of at a young age, developing
Yeah.
thick skin and
Yeah.
stuff, which we kind of
Yeah.
talked about earlier. Is like a
You
big,
have to have
you
it.
have to have it.
right.
Entertainment industry in general.
So, what we did was we got involved with this organization. There was sort of like this big expo in Texas, and people had come to SCPA to recruit kids who could be interested in coming to this talent expo.
I am very sorry, but one of the cats is crying, but they're fine. She carries little babies
If you
around.
hear
Yeah, it's
So anyway,
okay.
if you can hear a cat crying, it's
okay.
G. Murray
She's
Jones,
not suffering.
Power.
Lana's hair twin, and she's
My
carrying
hair
a little
twin. Yeah.
baby toy around, and she's crying. But
suffering.
anyway, so I took her to a psychic. She's cool.
Yeah.
Aw.
So
So go
Texas.
ahead.
We're in
Okay.
Texas.
We're in
Okay,
Texas.
so we
Back
went to
on track.
Texas.
So sorry.
And that's okay. People came to SCPA. They were sort of scouts for this thing, and Andy was selected to go. And we went to this. I took him, and we went to this thing. It was like 3 or 4 days long. And from that, he ended up getting an agent in Hollywood,
nice.
and we went. We went for pilot season when he
Yeah.
was, I guess, 14-ish. I don't know if he was 14
Yeah.
or 15, somewhere around there. 14, I guess, and auditioned for all sorts of things. And he actually booked a few things. We stayed in a little tiny apartment in a crazy place where it was all stage moms.
Yeah.
gosh.
Pageant kids running
Pageant
around.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
trying to think of the word.
Yeah.
Pageant kids and stage moms, and then me and my goth son.
There's a sitcom right
I
there.
have to say that
There
is
you
the
go.
funniest
It would
thing
have been
I've
great if you would have
ever
offered
in
one of the
my
little
life.
pageant girls some black lipstick.
Yeah.
Would you like some of this? That'll go great with that pink tiara.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
so.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
It was
Oh, that's
different.
hilarious.
Yeah. So we stayed there for a couple months. He booked some things and saved all of the money that he got from that. And then that was sort of his nest egg that he used when he turned 18 to be able to go out. As soon as he turned 18, pretty much, he left and went to Hollywood. And
How was that for you? Him?
Yeah.
I mean, here you are supportive and everything. You want him to do what he wants
Yeah.
to do. You know that's going to happen. But then when it happens,
it was okay. It was okay. I knew he was going to do it. There was never any question that he was
You
going
knew
to
he was
do
going
it.
to be successful.
Yes. This is a true story. the night before he left, we were packing up all of his stuff, and he was saying, "Now, don't be upset, Mom. This is, I'm just going to go
gonna
and
cry."
try it out or whatever." And I said to him, "I know you'll never be back. You'll never live in this house again." I knew that, but in a good way.
Today.
I knew that in a good way.
Because you knew
I knew
he's been building himself up for that moment, and
right.
It's okay.
I'm a mom, so.
And I'm not, but it's still making me like.
Well, I think the nice thing for you, especially, is like you went out there with him first, and he auditioned for things. So it's like you kind of at least got to see how it all goes.
Yeah.
So you got to, at least he wasn't going out there blindly. So
right.
you kind of got to
That's
experience.
a good point.
So it was probably
That's a good point. I
a
knew
little
where he was
helpful.
going, and we had lived
I
here for a
ruined the
couple
moment.
months.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
It was such a beautiful story.
It was so sweet.
Oh my God! You said no one ever cried.
Oh my God.
Podcast.
Well, I started to. Donna did it. I chilled up my veins, so
She's like, I did it.
She's like, work here's
Amy
done.
Amy Biersack made Lana cry. Oh my God, it's a red letter day. Anyway, so he goes.
So he
You
went.
tell him. You know he's not
I
coming
knew
back.
he wasn't going to come out. I knew he would never be the kid sleeping in the bedroom down the hall again. I knew that was never going to happen. So it took him a little while. He already had the concept of Black Veil Brides when he was here. And he had various kids that he knew from high school and things like that. Sort of a revolving door of local kids, that would get in and out of it. They did like a battle of the bands and that kind of stuff. But so he had the concept and he knew what he wanted to do, and it was just a matter of going and meeting the right people and being able to do it. So he did. He did. And because that's just how he is. He just did. And through some difficult times of, trial and error to get the right lineup and that sort of thing and to find the right management, he got the lineup that they have today, that they've had ever since.
Nice.
They signed with a small label that was based in Cleveland initially, within about a year of him arriving there, and then were bought out by Universal in
Wow.
2011.
Yeah.
So they've been
Wow.
with Universal ever since.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. Talk about good choices.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's good choices. Going with the smaller company, but then it all pans out, and that's really
He was
nice.
he was really smart about it. He took his time.
He
and
always
wanted it
studied
to be
the
right.
business because he knew that it was a business. And
I
so
want to
he
beat this
studied-
guy.
He studied the
He's-
business. Yeah. So he knew, obviously there's things that you don't know until you live through it.
Right.
Yeah.
But he knew how things worked, and he knew what he needed to have in place. And luckily he has an amazing manager and an amazing legal team and business team and that sort of thing. So.
Right.
But bottom line, I
Awesome.
mean, he made a commitment to himself and to music, something that he's very passionate about since he can even remember.
Right.
I mean, he's like a phenomenon. Just because of that, I mean, I hear kids all the time. I'll talk to teenagers or kids, and I'll say, "What do you want to do when you get older? Or if you ever thought about that or whatever?" And they're like, "Well, I want to be an NFL player." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, what are you doing to do that?" Well, I play Madden. I'm like, well, that's not.
Yeah.
You see, I mean,
Yeah.
he actually. I mean, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He sort of did all the homework, I guess you would say,
Yes, he did.
before he
Yeah.
took the step of going. And I think in his mind, there was really no chance that it wasn't going to work out. Now, part of that is, and he would say the same, because of his age, because he was 18 years old, and of course it's going to work out. And when he thinks about that now, he knows that there was a reasonable chance that it wouldn't. But at that age, you couldn't have convinced him that it wasn't. And I think I sort of knew that it was,
He'd been convincing himself since he was 4 that
and
that's what he wanted
had
to do.
always
Right.
been, I can tell you when we were in Dallas, when we were at that expo thing, there's a guy who was an agent, not somebody ended up going with, but a guy that we met. And he came up to me and said, "So Andy's your son?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my son." And he said, "Well, he's a star." And he goes, "But you already know that." And that was the first time really someone had ever said anything like that to me. I was used to us being kind of on the outside,
Right.
banging on the door,
Right.
and people acting like, well, you're a weirdo and,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So,
I had the privilege to see Andy at Vans Warped Tour or Black Veil Brides.
Yeah.
At Vans Warped Tour, not this past year, but the year before. And I took my niece. And he is dynamic.
Stage presence.
Watching
Big
him.
time.
It's so phenomenal. And he is such a positive influence. Standing back and watching all the kids while he was performing, he is such a positive influence on so many people.
Thanks for
And
saying
that's-
that. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's a huge part of his career that he has wanted. He always told me that he wanted to build sort of a community because he didn't feel like he ever had that.
Yeah.
So he wanted there to be a community feeling where, at least for that time when you're at the show, there's all these other kids that are like you, and we
Yeah.
all have this in common. And interesting, I said that he's always been interested in other people who have had successful careers and aspects of those careers that he can study. And I remember him telling me that he thought that Bruce Springsteen had that he had sort of
Yeah,
this
that's really
community
cool.
of people.
Yeah.
And he wanted that. Like, he wanted to be
Sure.
able to
Wow.
sort of build that.
He's a really
what a
clear
great goal.
understanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
one of the
amazing.
things too that I wanted to mention is the kids that I support them in helping them get their blood drawn. Black Veil Brides, for the longest time, was the #1 song that kids chose to listen to, #1 band that kids chose to listen to when they had their blood drawn. Just because they would talk about how great Andy was. They're like, and it was girls, I'll admit
Yeah.
it. But they were, Andy is so great, but he understands what
positive, maybe, and it's
that it was
empowering.
It was
Yeah.
empowering,
Really
and they would
is.
talk
Yeah.
about the song while they were getting their blood drawn, and it completely kept them from paying attention if they were they were afraid of getting
Right.
needles or whatever. And it was interesting also that they talked about how they could relate to him and he could relate to them through the music because they were bullied or they had a hard life, and his music spoke to them. In fact, I think Andy was at the Seacrest studio. Did he go to
He was.
and you even will talk to kids about his experience. You'll go and meet with kids to talk to them about
Right.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did. Just recently, there was a patient that I spoke to at the hospital, and she talked about sort of what you were just saying, that she felt that the lyrics gave her inspiration and that sort of thing. And she said so much of music on pop radio and that sort of thing is just about going out to the club and all of that, and there's not much that you can really pull from it. But she felt that the lyrics to Andy's work and to Black Veil Bride's work was very inspirational for her. So
Right.
yeah,
And
it
it-
means a lot to us.
It
really
does. I mean, his words mean a lot to the kids. And one of the things that I've also found interesting is I've met parents who have commented about how, my child likes this band or that band, screamo, and I spoke with a parent who they couldn't understand why their daughter liked Black Veil Brides and Blood on the Dance Floor and some other bands and things. And I said, it's interesting because this mom happened to like metal music when she was her child.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I said, but use this as a tool to listen to the music that your child's listening to and understand where they're coming from.
Right.
Because if the kids are saying this music's speaking to me, find out what it's saying and relate.
It's so important.
It's so important. I mean, and you are like a prime example of what it's like when you listen to your child and you support them and believe in them.
And yeah, and we did. We always believed in him, and it's not easy. And you and I had talked about sort of what it's like to be a parent of someone who's in this industry, and and how people could prepare for that. And I would say you can't possibly have a thick enough skin, because you hear everything negative about your child. It's your child that that they're talking about. So you almost have to separate real life or your child from this
The business
persona.
model of it.
This persona that's out in the world, and that people talk about as if he's not a real person.
Right.
And say hateful things and all of that, because that goes on every day, all day with the social media and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because we go to YouTube or whatever to watch the videos, and we're so excited and happy when we're seeing all the positive comments, and then you'll see comments
And then you
that
see
are
terrible
so
ones.
terrible,
Yeah,
just so evil, and nasty, and you just almost have to kind of laugh about it, but it's not easy.
No.
Because I mean, it's your kid,
Yeah.
you know, but whatever.
But the thing about
It
that,
is
the
what it
nasty
is.
comments, I don't understand. No one's making you go to YouTube and listen to
Right,
music that
exactly.
you
No
don't
one's
like.
making you watch
but,
it.
You know,
You
there's
know
always
what?
going to
If
be
you don't like it,
hateful.
you don't like it.
Yeah,
So,
we've always wondered
Yeah.
about that. Like, what is your motivation to do that? There's stuff that I don't love, but I've never felt the need to go to that
Right.
person's page
Page and, like, rip on
make
them.
sure they know that I hate it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Sometimes,
Right.
sometimes you'll see comments where it'll be pretty generic, where it's like, nah, it's just not my thing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And then you just see some that are like paragraphs of hateful, and it's like,
Who can even
geez,
read
like,
that?
where do you
I can't even
where
read
do
stuff
you even
that
come
that
from
is that
to
one.
getting
Read the
all
first few
this
words and
stuff?
go, yep, I'm not going to finish
You're like,
that
scroll,
one.
scroll,
It's okay.
scroll.
So yeah, I mean, I
need
think that the most important thing is to have a thick skin, and I think that that's also true for anybody who's interested in going to any aspect of this.
Yes.
I can tell you when we were in Hollywood initially, they sent Andy on a few auditions for things like print ads and things like that, which we don't know. We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, I'll just say we never had any thought that he was going to be a model or anything like that.
Right.
And there was no. We were bumpkins, like walking in. We didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything about it. We were completely unprepared for it. But they sent us, so off we went. You know, we went to this thing. We had MapQuest in those
Yeah.
days because there was
Right.
Oh my
GPS.
God.
So I
Right.
would print MapQuest, and Andy would sit in the passenger seat and yell, "Turn right, turn left, drive around."
I'm just picturing this perfectly
Yeah.
in my
Yeah,
head
when
right
I was
now.
there, I had a Thomas guide. That's a whole
Oh,
other.
there you
Anyway,
go.
ahead.
So I remember going to this audition thing, which I don't even remember what it was. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal to us, but some sort of print ad, and these people let us in, and I'm sitting out there waiting for him, and he came out 15 minutes later, and he was kind of laughing, and I said, "How'd it go?" He said, "Well, they told me, like, turn this way, turn that way. They're taking pictures," and then the one woman said to the other woman, "Oh, you know, you've got a bump on your nose."
Oh my God, he's probably one of the most perfect noses on planet Earth.
And she said, and we were laughing.
Oh my God.
I love that
because-
he
I
came
love
out
that he
laughing.
Oh my
about
God,
that.
we were
That's
dying.
It didn't bring him
hilarious.
down at all. He was
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
thought it was
He
hilarious.
said that she said it as if it was a
The
tragic.
end of the world.
It was
Yeah.
like how has this kid lived through his life without any
Yeah.
That bump on his nose.
knowing
He's got a bump
this
on his
tragic
nose.
flaw?
Oh
And
my
the other lady was like, "Well, I guess we're done here."
Oh my god!
Oh my God.
Hey,
Get
kid,
out.
but you
That's
know what?
reality.
That is
That is
reality.
reality.
So
And that
that's
is, it
why
doesn't
I'm
matter what
saying.
coast, boom. They,
And he
they
was
tell
young
it
and
like
he
it
came
is.
out of there laughing.
That's why I'm saying, though, you can't have a thick enough skin.
Yeah.
Because I think for some people that something like that could be devastating.
Speaking of that bump on that nose,
Yeah,
I
let's.
wonder
Yeah,
what those
we do wanna-
print people are thinking now
Right.
if they pick up one of those.
We have.
Yes.
I do want to bring. I do
Andy
want to
did
like.
a spread in Italian
that
Vogue
Vogue one.
This
just
one here.
recently.
That, yeah.
Let's show those print
Those,
people.
those pictures are just
No, I
Oh,
think we marked it when we were.
Yeah, there you go, the yellow.
There you
you
go.
go.
Well, that is.
I'm going
That
to tell you
picture's
what,
beautiful.
Amy. I'm going to hold this up, and you can talk. He's amazing. Look at how gorgeous.
Look at that.
Look
I'm
at that
telling
bump
you
on
what,
that nose.
What bump? I'm not seeing any
He's
bump.
such a, like.
Well, he does have a bump. He does
No,
have
but
a
it
bump on his
defines
nose.
him.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
it's-
does, but we don't care.
Yeah. And that's
Seriously,
him.
he could be like.
He could
He
be
could be
a
like
model.
like a
You said
noir,
Frank Sinatra,
Frank
and that
Sinatra,
absolutely.
like film
It's
noir,
super
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
like some old
Frankly,
detec-
my dear.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
like
got
some-
that
oh my
sort
gosh,
of look.
we're gonna
Yeah.
cast him and everything right here, right now.
He does have such a timeless
He does.
Right.
Very much so.
structure to his
I think
face
he's
and
strikingly
Yeah.
Yeah.
gorgeous.
And
there's
he's
another picture
and he's
for it.
involved with film as well,
He is
right, Amy?
just recently. The other picture's further back. I think it's. I'm sorry.
That's
it
okay.
just makes
There
me
it
Oh,
is.
here
Here
it
it
is.
is.
Okay, here's the other picture. Tell us the story.
Yes,
'cause
we
this
need to
is
hear
funny.
this. This is
I just love the sense of humor that goes along.
Andy
with it.
does have a good sense of humor, and you know, I asked him about the girl that was in the picture with him, and I said, "Oh, was she nice? Did you spend time with her that afternoon?" And he was like, "Mom, honestly, I don't know." He said, "I'm sure she is nice, but she was only about 13 or 14 years old, and from what I could tell, she didn't speak any English. So it was an interesting.
They were like, just lean on him and you're
Just
good.
sit
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and she's gonna lean on
just,
you.
Yeah, it's just kind of a different world.
But I will
Yeah.
say, like, looking at the picture, you would have no idea. I feel like the picture
Absolutely.
tells a story, and you wouldn't
Yeah.
have any idea that he couldn't even.
I can't
Right.
even
have a
believe
conversation
how
with her.
striking his face
Absolutely.
is in this
Yeah.
photograph. I mean, he's just so
He looks really intense.
yeah.
He does.
In
I
that
mean, he's
photo.
definitely. I mean,
He is
amazing.
intense.
Yeah, he
in a
is
way,
intense.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's portrayed in that picture, I guess.
And that's
Yeah.
Italian Vogue. What month?
I think it was this past maybe.
Shout out to Italian
February or
Vogue.
I could,
something?
yeah. I don't know. I can't see because my glasses. I don't have them. But February, possibly 2016. Vogue. We're going to show you hold up some other things. I'll hold them up for Amy.
Mama can talk.
Yes, Amy, brag on this.
Well, that is Andy's new solo CD, which just came out in May of this year. And he wanted to do something different from Black Veil Brides because he was always interested in sort of a 80s, a little bit techno,
Yeah.
pop kind of thing, like Sisters of Mercy or, I can't think. Ghost in You song. I can't even think of who I'm trying to say. I
We
have
could Google it.
a
Yeah.
bad tendency to go blank.
That's okay.
But you know how it goes. But anyway, so he was interested in doing something like that and sort of bringing out that element of his interest. He kind of had more of a punk background in a way than metal, and he ended up more in a metal band and sort of
Right.
bringing a punk aspect to
Right,
that.
yeah.
But he's also very interested in this punk background, so he wanted to do sort of a Billy Idol-ish kind of a thing,
Okay.
like a crossover.
I can see that.
Punk
Yeah.
pop.
Definitely.
Like the latest video really has a kind of
Yeah.
a sense of that.
Yes.
Nice.
So he didn't want to bring that into Black Veil Brides because he thought it would kind of spoil it in a way. It
Yeah,
didn't,
sure.
have, didn't have a
Yeah.
place
Sure.
in Black Veil Brides. It wasn't part of it. So he wanted to do it on his own. Unfortunately, his record label agreed with him that it could be a cool project and let him do that.
Well, kudos to
So
him
that
for
came
wanting.
out.
He's a creative
Yeah.
person.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He wants to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
this
a
is like only
outside
the
the box
beginning of
thinker.
everything that we're going to see from him.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is
that's
also
a live DVD that came out last year. That actually was the #1 selling music DVD in the U.S. and in the U.K.
Wow.
the week that it
Very
It's
came out.
awesome.
amazing.
Very
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was filmed in Los Angeles about a year and a half ago, almost coming up on 2 years ago. We were there actually; it was fun.
Oh, fun.
And they had a whole film crew there and did that, and it's great.
Awesome.
That's
super
awesome.
exciting. Do you get to go to a lot of his events? And
We go to as much as we possibly can. We usually go anywhere in the
Sorry, I didn't mean to reach in front of
Midwest,
you.
and that's okay. Anywhere in the Midwest, we try to go. We've gone to London, which was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Some West Coast, yeah. It was
did
fun.
you see Hugh Laurie while you were there?
I did
Put it out there.
But I don't know that I was.
Andy, I
looking
think
for
you're
him.
absolutely stunning, but Hugh Laurie has my heart. Anyway, so what? So were they filming in London? or
No,
was it-
no. That was just we went to a show there. We just wanted to see what it was like.
Oh,
There-
how cool
Yeah.
is that?
rock music is huge in England.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
from what I've read, their like London
Yeah.
community is
Yeah.
so like into them.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean? Like,
interesting.
yeah.
In the U.S., rock music is kind of an afterthought now.
Yeah.
You know, you can see that in the Grammys. It's really not
Yeah.
there. And if they pretend there's a category that's rock, it's usually just pop artists.
It's
Right.
usually
Right.
not rock
Very
music.
different.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
people who are 70 years old. Think about it.
Yeah.
People who are 70 years old or pop artists are the only ones who are ever nominated in the rock category.
Yeah,
and
right.
I'll just go on my soapbox a little bit. I feel like it's part of what is ruining rock in
Yeah.
the U.S. because kids can't. I love Tom Petty, but when I was 14, if a guy who was 70 was winning an award, I don't know that I would have thought that that was my category.
Right.
So
Right.
I just-
Right,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's
Right,
good
get on
point.
the soapbox.
Very
This
good
is the
point.
opportunity
You know,
to
I
do
just
that.
wish that there was a little bit more attention by sort of music's mainstream to all of the young rock stars who are out there.
I'll agree with that.
100%.
It's changed. This evolution of music
Yeah.
is interesting and how it's progressing and changing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of people will just say that rock is dead, but it truly is not. There's a huge rock community. It's just not necessarily acknowledged by
Like a
Right.
mainstream
And it's defined.
thing, yeah.
It has a different definition,
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Yeah,
That is,
yeah.
I just want to put this picture up too. That's like a great.
It's just such a
photograph.
good
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
that's
like the
AP
eyebrow.
Magazine.
He's doing the eyebrow thing.
Yeah.
That, I
These are
like
just
that one.
great.
He just has
He's just so
such
photogenic.
a great look. Yeah, that
He's
is.
just amazing. So Andy got married
He did.
Yay.
He got married, and he married someone else in the industry, which is wonderful.
Which is very
because
smart.
They,
Yeah.
they truly are partners in this, and they understand each other, and they work together.
That's so. I just got goosebumps.
so it's
Yeah,
so
I
sweet.
really think that's awesome.
Yeah,
When did they get
Someone
married?
who's supportive.
He got married in April to Juliet Sims. So Juliet Sims has been around in the industry for quite a while. She worked with her band, Automatic Love Letter, and toured everywhere for years and years. She was sort of a, allergies.
That's okay.
Sort of a staple in the Warped Tour world for years and years. She's done that many times. And then a lot of people got to know her a couple years ago because she was on The Voice. And she came in
Nice.
second
Oh.
her season of The Voice, so a lot of people got to know her from that as well. So, and they've been together since 2011. They met on the road when they were touring, and have been together ever since.
Aw.
They got married this year. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
awesome to
great,
find
yeah.
someone that like they support each other in
Sure.
what they're doing because
Yeah.
we've talked about it
They
a lot
understand
about
what
how
The business and
yeah,
what
like
they're
the
each
business.
going through.
amazing.
Some things have to be
Yeah.
prioritized, etc. So it's nice to
Yeah.
have someone that understands.
And how amazing for her to have such an awesome mother-in-law. Seriously,
Yeah.
who totally gets everything.
Yeah.
No, I mean, really,
She hit the
I mean,
jackpot.
get
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely.
You appreciate the fact that they have careers that are really
Yeah.
important to them, and you don't put pressure on them in that respect.
Right.
Some
No, not
people
at
just
all.
don't.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
some parents struggle with it.
Now,
I love this picture.
Speaking of Paul Power, don't they have a blind cat? Is this correct?
they have a blind dog.
Blind
They
dog.
have a blind
Yeah.
dog named
Yes.
Daredevil.
Paul Power means
Like
love of
100%.
animals.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what
Yeah.
an awesome
Yes.
name!
Yeah, he's
That's cool.
It's so cool.
Did they? Was
Yeah,
there? I
it's
mean,
perfect.
did the dog go blind after they got him? Was it a
No,
rescue?
he was born blind.
Oh.
So they have two cats. They had two cats already, but then they're kind of softies like I am, and they have a tendency to poke around and rescue
Yeah.
places and things like that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they saw these little puppies that had been brought into this rescue that's in their neighborhood, and they just noticed that Daredevil. The other dogs seemed to kind of be jumping all over him and squishing him down and that sort of
my
thing. And they
gosh.
didn't, of course, realize that he was blind. They just thought he was, kind of the little runt.
The run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they started playing with him, and they really liked him. And then the woman working there said, well, we're almost 100% sure that he's completely blind. So what they think it was he's one of those kind of designer mixes. They think that they don't know, but they think, and the vet agrees by looking at him, that they think that he's like a Yorkie and a Jack Russell. And that's one of those things that
Interesting, yeah.
people,
Yeah.
those kind of designer dogs where they sell
Those
them for,
hybrid-y type.
$1,000
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, irresponsible breeders will just keep breeding the same pair and over again,
Yeah.
and then you end up with birth defects, and that's what
Yeah.
they think.
No.
That just
Well, then they
absolutely.
can't sell that one, so they just dump it. So,
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It just
so
makes me
he
wanna
was
cry.
actually
Kudos
found.
for them,
He
please.
was found like in an alley or something in a bag. Somebody
Oh
brought him.
no!
Yeah. So they ended up with Daredevil.
What a loving world he's
Auntie-
in now, though, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Auntie texted me and said, "What do you think about us getting a blind puppy?"
She's
like, go for it.
Yeah.
It seems like it could be challenging, but that's not going to stop you. So, so yeah, they've had him for
I
about
love
a
that he
year now.
texted you. What do you think of us getting a blind puppy?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
My mom would be like, question mark? Like, she'd be like, what? Like, are you a dog?
That is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So they
It's
love
a challenge,
Daredevil.
though.
Yeah.
To me, it's
I
like
love the
almost,
name.
it's in character.
Daredevil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is such a perfect.
And there's a
Comic
blind
name.
superhero named Daredevil.
Yeah,
Right,
what-
that's
right.
That's
Yeah.
why
And
I'm
I don't even
laughing,
like
but
superheroes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That, you know what? I'm not. I don't do the whole superhero thing, but I have watched that one,
Yeah.
and yeah, I do. It's pretty
Nancy
cool. I don't
has
watch
a,
a lot of
Nancy
it.
has a thing for Iron Man.
I do like Iron Man, but the Daredevil thing. I was watching it because some friends were watching it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I would read a book while I watched it, so it was like,
Yeah.
Did you watch
I
the
can't-
movie or
right,
the,
yeah.
the Netflix Daredevil?
The Netflix
The
thing.
Netflix
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
is really good.
Yeah.
So, but I just
Very
think this
cool.
is great. I love this picture of him with Ozzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. The 50 greatest rock stars in the world today. He was in there. So
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Isn't that cool?
That's
Yeah,
really
It was
cool.
exciting.
This is I love this picture of him too. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do this, but oh my god, I just realized this is hilarious.
With Dee
Yeah, with Dee
Snider.
Snider.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love the face.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
really
was
good.
after they performed together at the Golden Gods Awards a few years ago in LA, and we were there. And so we shared the dressing room with Dee Snider, and he's
And
the
you know what? When he's
nicest, nicest man in the world.
I've heard he's like super, super nice.
You would love him. He's the nicest man in the world. It was a great experience.
I saw him in an interview, and his wife was on. She said he's just such a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
How
love
awesome
that.
is it to like meet somebody and then
really
they end up
straight
being like one of the nicest people
Yeah,
in the world? That's
right.
so cool.
I'm just holding up pictures. Of
Okay.
yeah. Andy again. Oh my God, this is fantastic.
I like that. For
All right,
you.
this is something that the girls always tell me that I'm helping them. They go, Andy has the most beautiful eyes in the whole world. That's what they say. I'm like,
He does have beautiful eyes.
yes, he
He
does.
he has his mother's eyes.
Yeah.
with
Oh
us.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Look
Amy,
at
I
you.
swear to
Look
God,
at that.
You can
Look
tell.
at that.
Amy, you guys look dead on each other.
He looks just
I can't
like
tell.
you.
I can't tell. Thank you.
You walked in, and I looked at Nancy, and I went,
We both, yeah, we both were like,
Really?
just
"He
I
looks
know.
just like her." Yeah.
He's probably kind of a mix of me and my husband. I
Well,
think
I
he
would
kind of is.
imagine
But
that
yeah,
would
he's
be.
kind of a mix. Yeah.
I did to say one time, I was in your office before, and you have a picture of him dressed up like Kiss.
When he's little.
When he was
yeah,
little. Yeah. Not now, but when he was little.
Right,
He's like,
yeah.
He was super cute.
If I have my stories right, did you turn the basement into like a hockey
We
thing
did.
for him?
Yeah.
I read
yeah,
that
you
somewhere. I
did.
want to hear about
Yeah,
that.
in
Read,
our
right on.
in the house that we lived in when he was a little kid, he loved hockey.
Yeah.
And he always wanted to be a goalie, probably because they dressed the coolest.
Yeah.
well, they do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and they could paint their helmets
Yes,
and all of that, which
there
he
it
wanted
is,
to
right
do all
there.
of that. So we need a place for him to be able to practice. So we lived in an old house that was like 100 years old, and we tore the carpet out of the basement so that it would just be like a hard concrete floor.
Right.
So that he could practice down there. My husband would be down there with him all the time practicing.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
love it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about the 100-year-old house, not to defer from Andy or from your story of him, but was the house haunted by any chance?
It's funny that you say that because there were creepy, weird things that went on in
She's
there.
like,
Sometimes the hairdryer would turn itself on in the bathroom, and that would freak me out. Like I'd just be walking down the hall and suddenly the hairdryer would be blowing. Yeah, you
Oh,
would hear
man.
that.
Thanks for the sound effects,
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah.
None of us have
I'm-
ever heard the hairdryer.
I'm here for you.
So it's like, you
I'm
know what?
here
It
for
just
you guys.
that made the hair stand
Remarkably
up.
similar.
That made
here
the
for
hair
you
stand up
guys.
on the back of my neck. Okay.
But not like a lot of stuff, but there were just kind of weird things, which I guess you could say it was an old house and the wiring was crazy, so who knows? But there were some weird
come
things
on, the
like
blow
that.
dryer. I'm sorry. I'm trying to convince you. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know that there were other things, but that's the one thing that I remembered. That
Nancy's
was
like, come on,
kind
it
of
was a
creepy and
blow
weird.
dryer.
Yeah.
It was kind of creepy and weird.
I
But,
just like stuff like, I don't know. I just find stuff like that very interesting.
yeah,
Let's look. We have two more pictures to look at.
that's the whole band.
Magazines.
The whole
yeah.
band magazines to look at, and that this is fantastic. And this is what when Lana said this was an action packed. This action.
I wasn't kidding.
photograph, She means it. There's an action picture of.
I
Yeah,
love it.
That's fantastic.
and I think that was from when they played the Download Festival in England.
I can't see
I'm
anything.
almost
Is it-
sure
oh, that
that's
would be
what that
really
was.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Download Festival is this huge rock. Well, you know, in Europe they still have those gigantic, enormous rock festivals
Right.
where there'll be
Yeah.
100,000 people there,
Yeah.
and people camp and everything.
Yeah.
So they've done that a couple times with Download and some other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting. It's fun.
That's really cool.
Well, I just want to say I think it's amazing the support that you have given him
Thank you.
because I think it's pretty clear that he's gotten a lot of his strength from you and your
Thanks.
support.
I'd
And
like
I
to
think
think so.
I would like
Thanks.
to see more parents
Yeah.
be like you and support their children
Oh, I would absolutely.
in their quirks and what anybody else thinks is different.
And work
That's
off that.
them.
Yeah.
Work
it's
with
them.
their uniqueness and support them and let them be who they are.
It's hard to do,
Sure.
because the world conspires against you.
Yeah.
You know, it's people. When Andy was in middle school, the principal would say, "You could make this a lot easier on yourself, Andy. Just don't wear those stupid socks."
Oh my God! Are you kidding
So
me?
we always said to him, "That's backwards."
Yeah.
The people who can't stop looking at your socks
They're
are the ones that
are the
have a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Not you because you like striped soccer socks. Who
Yeah.
cares? They're the ones that have a problem. So I think in that way that maybe some might argue that we weren't helping him by doing that because You know,
You were doing the
look
right
at where
thing.
he
But I-
is now.
Absolutely.
but I
Yes, you were.
think in my heart that that's, you know, the right advice.
You know
for
all those kids that didn't like his socks? Those are the ones leaving those mean comments
Yeah,
now.
they probably are.
Right.
They probably
Because they
are.
can't
No,
focus on anything
Those are the ones that
else.
are on Amazon buying those socks
There
so they
you
can
go.
wear them now.
Yeah, maybe.
Who
Nice.
knows? I
Who
mean,
knows?
I just
Yeah.
think I totally think you're awesome just
Yeah.
because I just think you're phenomenal whether you're Andy's mom or not.
Right.
You
Thank
just
you.
make me laugh whenever I see you. And
Yeah.
but I totally agree. I mean, I was a very fortunate person to have parents like you because my parents supported every harebrained idea I've ever come up with. And things have always panned out. Like I've always wanted to do it, and they're like, okay, well, go ahead. And it's always worked out.
Yeah.
So whatever people would identify as harebrained or goofy or just something that, you know, is just kind of a dream, it's real. You know,
Right.
so really hold on to that and let that be with your kids. So.
Yeah.
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 It's really cool. I feel like for him, he's like kind of come full circle as a kid, like looking at these Kiss trading cards and like wanting to be that. And now like he's kind of inspiring kids are looking at him like, oh, now I want to be that.
Well,
So it's
and
cool for him to
it's
kind of get back
true.
to the
Yes.
beginning. He's kind of like getting to a point, and I
Yeah.
think in the past years he's really made that big image of himself to where now he's kind of an icon, and for a lot of teens and a lot of
Yeah.
kids to be like, oh man, like I want to do that, I want to be that.
That's a good point. I
And
think that's
I think
probably
his
true.
story too. That's why this episode is so important, because people are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, he was bullied and he came out on top, and he
He did the
he did the
work.
work,
He
and
did the work.
he's
But he
doing his thing
believed,
now."
he believed in
Yeah.
what he could do. He didn't let that. I mean, he had a thick skin as a young kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
wanting to critique him. That I still
Yeah,
can't get
that's
over
right.
that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I have acting classes where people can't handle a critique in
Right.
an acting class.
Yeah.
And that's an acting class where you're
Right.
supposed to be learning and making
Right.
mistakes and things like that. I'm
Right.
telling you
Absolutely.
what.
Yeah, he's never been like that. He's always been open to hearing, you know, he has a definite idea of what he wants to do, but he's very open to hearing other people's
Yeah.
suggestions or how that might play out and that sort
Well,
of
because he
thing.
wants everything to be the best of
Right.
the best. When's his
Yeah.
birthday, by the way?
The day after Christmas,
Oh, that's right.
December
Nice.
26th. Yeah,
He's a Capricorn.
Capricorn.
yeah.
Take a deep breath, Lana. Lana's a
Fellow
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Right there, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, we always felt like he had the worst birthday probably of any day of the whole year, because what day is a bigger letdown in the kid world? In the kid world, what day is a bigger letdown than the day after Christmas?
January 1st, when your parents hold one present back from Christmas and give it to you a
Oh,
week later.
Yeah, because I have a brother whose birthday is 2 days after Christmas,
Yeah.
and,
And
it was
everybody's
always
been
adamant
partying
to
on
keep
Christmas
them very
Eve. They don't want to
separate.
celebrate
That's
your birthday.
right.
the
My
next
mom
day.
was always really good about making sure.
Well, and
that
I
it was
think like for
completely
Andy,
separate.
when he was little, it would be like Christmas Eve at his grandparents' house would be, you know, big frenzy of presents, and Christmas Day, big frenzy, and then the next day, does everybody want to come over again and do a bunch of presents and get, you know, everybody's like, so we, you know, and yeah, birthday cake, there's already gallons of, you know,
Yeah.
cookies and sweets everywhere. Now we got a
Right.
cake, and so I think that it was kind of one of those crazy birthdays where I always said to him, at least if you'd been born on Christmas, you would have the novelty of being born on Christmas,
Right.
not the stinking day after Christmas, right?
Mine's Thanksgiving.
I love it.
Is
Your
it?
birthday's Thanksgiving?
Last year was
Last
on.
year was
It
on
was
Thanksgiving?
actually
It's
on
like that,
Thanksgiving.
right around
Yeah,
there.
and then
So,
this year
yeah.
it'll be like a couple days later. But everyone's sick of eating, or you know, we
Yeah.
always get Thanksgiving
Yeah.
or whatever.
Birthday on Thanksgiving Day stinks.
Yeah. Oh, when I was a
everyone
kid, I
wants
used to
to
think it was
sleep,
magical.
too.
Now
Yeah.
it sucks because
And
I'm
mine's
always
on-
like,
it's so funny because mine's on Halloween.
Is
And
it
when
really?
I was little, I thought it was an
Look at
amazing
all these holiday
birthdays right
holiday
here.
birthdays. I know.
Hey, I
used to
was
think
born
it was
on Labor Day. Not that that's that exciting.
Oh my God.
September 4th.
Wait a minute, that's
You
not
guys
fair.
have no
You're
idea
not
the
supposed to be
struggle,
working on
okay?
Labor Day.
The struggle of a Labor Day birthday.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so funny.
No, but it is all holidays.
That's
When I
That's
was
funny.
little, I thought it was like a magical birthday. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god!
I would
That's what
love
I
that
thought
when I was
it's
a
the
kid.
highlight of the kid year or whatever is Halloween, and that was my birthday. And
I would love my birthday to be on
My
Halloween.
birthday
I think
cakes
that'd
were
be
always
fun.
witches and all of that stuff. And then when you get older, you realize this stinks as a parent
Because
because
you-
people say, "What are you going to do for your birthday?" Same thing I do every year. I
I'm
think
gonna
I'll
hand
sit
out
on the
candy.
driveway and hand out candy. And there's not even time to go out for dinner. There's no cake.
Yeah.
There's no
Well, and
opening presents.
That's a
because
busy
6
day
o'clock.
for
Yeah.
And
yeah.
especially
Oh my God.
when your kid lives for Halloween,
yeah.
you know.
Has he ever said, Mom, I wish my birthday was your birthday?
No, I don't
No.
think so. I don't
So
think
what
he's
were
ever
some
said-
fun costumes he did? He would have done like some
I'm sure
incredible
he must have
Yeah,
done.
Kiss,
would
I'm sure
give-
he had
He
to.
did
Yeah.
Kiss. He did Gene Simmons,
Yeah.
and he liked.
Did he meet Gene Simmons once?
He briefly.
Okay.
He has met
Oh
Gene
my
Simmons, but
gosh.
he met Paul Stanley, who was super nice.
That's who was Paul
Paul
Stanley.
Stanley came to the studio when they were recording their last record, and was very nice and very complimentary, and it was a huge thrill for him.
I was about
I
to
bet
say,
it
like,
was.
being a little kid looking at.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Okay,
That'd
back
be
to the
super
Halloween
cool.
costumes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I just thought about that.
Scary stuff like Frankenstein and
Oh my
that kind of
God.
stuff is what he
Yeah.
always liked. The scarier, the better.
Does he still like get into Halloween parties? And
Oh
stuff now?
yeah, sure.
Halloween's
Not,
the
not
best.
so much the parties part
But
of it.
Yeah.
the getting.
He's not a big party guy. That's why he has the song "We Don't Have to Dance" is about.
Yeah, it's
kind of just
Oh my
not
God, that's such a great
kind
song.
of having social anxiety.
Wait a minute.
Not
wait,
wanting
let's
to
go
go
there.
to parties.
I'll take.
You
Oh my
both
God!
go
Is that,
there.
okay, you both
Let's
Lana,
go there.
Lana has this face
I
that
do.
she
She's
makes.
my marketing.
And I'm like, every time she does that, I get like my stomach clenches, and I'm like, oh.
They both did it at the same time, so
know.
I'm over here feeling energy
My
clash.
my intense face is not as graceful as Andy's intense.
Face. But no, but that song, because I was listening to that song,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
it is really good for people that have that
It's-
that don't
I
want
mean, it's
that
kind of
can't be in that
tongue in
limelight.
cheek, but it's about. He wrote that song with Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy.
Awesome.
And so when he met Patrick, they were talking about. They kind of were just talking, about things that had been going on, and they got to talking about having to go to a lot of events and things like that, and they were both laughing about how it's like their least favorite part of their jobs, because they both kind of have this feeling like they would rather be home, watching Netflix with their blind dog or whatever. So, so they ended up writing that song about the people who try to force you to have fun. That's kind of the funny part.
There it is.
That's a
People
great.
who
That's a great
Yeah.
concept.
force you to go because we're having fun, damn it. Like we're
Right.
going to
Right.
these
Yeah.
bars and we're going to these parties and we're all going to dance and we're all going to be drunk and it'll
I
be
love
fun.
you, man.
And it's not fun really
Yeah.
to Andy or I guess to Patrick.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's what that song's about.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to. And then he has the line, "It's so nice to meet you. Let's never meet again."
I bet they.
Which I
I
like.
bet they hit it off
I
super
totally-
well.
I love that.
I totally agree with that because there are times when I've gone. You know me, I'm like really outgoing. I talk a
Yeah.
lot. I'm like, oh, I'm a live wire.
Right.
But I can go someplace. I can be in a room of 500 people and be perfectly content, sitting off to the side and
Yep.
Yeah.
doing my own, reading a book. Seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because not everybody understands that about someone who is well known in the any type of the entertainment industry. That sometimes they
Yeah.
need that.
It's the misconception that
Well,
they
yeah, like
see
that's
him
what
on the
they
cover
love
of
to
a
do, yeah.
magazine
And he's
and they
like-
think, oh, he has this glamorous life. He's probably going to parties every night and
Yeah.
riding in limos and
Or have an
drinking
expectation of
champagne
them.
and doing this and doing that. And no, he's
not really
Netflixing
cool.
with his blind dog. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, he and Juliet both would rather just kind of be
Right.
quiet at home.
When's her
and-
birthday?
I love that.
Her birthday's in February,
February beginning or end?
26th.
26.
Mhm.
She's a Pisces.
I don't know much about that, but I'll take your word for it.
They're pretty strong people, but they
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
sensitive side they don't like to show. They like you to think they're stronger.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
Nice.
I bet him and Patrick hit it off super well because Patrick is one of those people that we've talked about it in a previous episode where he struggled with like depression and stuff in high school and college and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
again kind of goes with that thing where you have this persona that they have this big glamorous life, but they
Right.
go through some of the same stuff everybody else does.
Yeah,
So it's
it's the truth.
awesome.
And Andy also wrote with Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance
Yeah.
for this record, and he kind of had a similar
Yeah, exactly.
outlook. Kind of
Yeah.
That's
similar.
awesome for them to get
I think
together
more
and make
people-
music together.
yeah, I think more people experience that same type of situation than we even realize.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Well, Amy, it's time for us to wrap up.
Oh,
It was fantastic.
Yay,
We don't clap for Rusty. And Rusty, thank you for being phenomenal and being so vocal back there.
Shout out to the sound
Yeah.
genius.
The sound genius.
Sound
Rusty.
genius.
Anyway, Amy, thank you so much.
Thank
This
you
was
for having me.
fantastic.
Thank you.
We,
It's fun.
tell Andy we appreciate him letting
Yeah.
you bring
Yes.
all this.
Shout out to
saying
you,
it's
Andy.
cool
You're
to bring all
awesome.
this stuff. A shout out to him, Juliet, and the two cats and the dog.
And Daredevil.
blind dog.
And Daredevil,
Yeah.
and sorry, because we're Paw
Paw
Power.
Power.
We
I
are
love
Paw,
animals,
Paw,
so
Paw,
Paw
yes.
Power. That's like the big thing. Anyway, we thank you so much. I can't tell you enough
Thank
how
you.
grateful we are for you to be on the show. The Neapolitan Trifecta will be in Louisville, August 7th, 8th, and 9th. I can never get this city right.
Lana's going. Uh-huh.
Anyway, we'll be in Louisville the 7th, 8th, and 9th of October. We will be airing live and doing interviews there. So we're excited about that. Looking forward to Louisville and
Yes,
the
yes,
Illuminary. No,
Imagine.
Imaginarium. Oh, I didn't
You were
get
so
One
close,
for two.
so
One for
close.
two. That's it.
the Imaginarium. And I know it's the Imaginarium. It's just in my head. I have a visual
Yes.
of something completely different.
Okay.
Shout out to
Anyhow.
our sponsors, Derek Kadzow, DerekKadzow.com. He designed our website. He is fantastic. If you need a website, give him a shout. Piebird, Starwind Vacations, 5 Elements Pottery. Who am I forgetting?
CP Design.
CP Design.
You've
gotta start wearing
The
a jewelry.
Blind Lemon.
Yes.
There we go.
Lemon.
And where can everybody find us, Alex?
Find us at Neapolitan 3, spell it out, Facebook and Instagram, and check out our website at NeapolitanTrifectaPodcast.com. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Again, thank
Check
you,
us out.
Amy. This was fantastic.
Thanks.
You're amazing. You're
Thank
so
you.
fun.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Amy, you're like, I don't know. No,
I'm
you're
gonna
fantastic.
Thank you.
go home and tell my boyfriend that I know somebody that knows somebody that has a blind dog named Daredevil. He's gonna think that's the coolest thing ever. Bye, guys.
Do they ever post pictures of?
Daredevil has his own Instagram account.
Oh, that's
Are you
awesome.
kidding me?
Oh my God, we'll have to like
Yeah.
Daredevil on.
Check out on Instagram, Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. All right,
love it.
take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Bye, guys.